This is Hold My Stethoscope.
Welcome back to Hold My Stethoscope. I'm Brittney, ER nurse educator, and I love me some Alani. And here's my girl live from New York.
Your girl Felicia, educator, ER nurse, full of life, dealing with a serious, they say illness, but I don't feel sick. Anyway, so welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, it is crazy that the journey that Felicia's been on and how she's just out here still crushing it every day. So, today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that every ER nurse and every nurse at some point can relate to. And it's going to be those rookie mistakes we've all made when we were new starting out or new to a specialty.
Yep. So if you're a new grad or you're starting your first ER job, this is one for you because we've been there. Like both Brittney and I have been there. We've done that and we've survived the chaos, both of us. And so glad that you can just grab your stethoscope and listen in.
Yes, we are going to kind of be breaking down the top 5 biggest mistakes that we've seen from new nurses. And like Felicia
Yeah.
said, I've been one in the past. I know Felicia has that we've made mistakes. We're not
Absolutely.
perfect. We make mistakes all the time. We're still continuously learning, still out there trying our best. And if we can give you advice for how best to avoid mistakes so you don't have to learn the hard way, we're going to do that. So,
Yes.
Felicia, you want to get us started?
Yes. Number 5, forgetting priorities. Anyway, you can always spot a new nurse. They're trying to do everything at once, and none of it matters right now.
Yeah, I feel like with new nurses, it can be very difficult, especially coming out of school. You're kind of very task oriented. That's just kind of how you're taught to do things. Is you have X, Y, Z that need to be done on your patient, and that's kind of all you get focused on. You kind of get tunnel vision in that X, Y, Z category and have to finish it. And if you don't finish it, like it's almost like the end of the world. And with healthcare, and especially obviously in the ER, because, we're both ER nurses here, that is going to be a huge mistake on your part because you can't focus on X, Y, Z and think that you're not going to get an interruption that B needs to be done. And then A, it needs to come up. And then F is over here needing your attention. You're going to get pulled in 7 million different directions. And it's going to be very important that you're able to prioritize what needs to be done now, what needs to be done urgently, and what can wait or be delegated to somebody else. Because you're going to be constantly pulled in so many different directions. Knowing where to start first is going to be huge. And it's not going to be necessarily the first thing you were given to do because you're going to get 12 different things and you have to look at those 12 different things and say, who is my patient that needs to be seen right now and what do I need to do?
Yes. So just to take off from what Brittney was just saying, being that we're both ER nurses, the ER doesn't care about order. I'm just going to put it out there to you. It cares about priorities. So your airway, your breathing, your circulation, not a charting, I mean, granted, you do have to chart, but the thing is that we have to take care of the patient. That is the top priority first. You can go back and chart what you need to do, but we need to make sure that we are doing airway, breathing, circulation. The focus, on what's threatening first. Those are the things that you want to prioritize. And then the rest of it can wait. Okay, so if you have a patient come in and they having difficulty breathing or something like that, then you know that that's your patient that's going to take priority over a patient that came in with abdominal pain. I'm not saying that we are just there's nothing going on with them because that's not the case. But at this time, we need to focus on and make the priority on what's more severe. And the priority would be the person's airway. So that's number 5's focus. Prioritization.
Yes. All right. So, number 4 we have on the list is not asking for help. This one really does hit home because a lot of times, like I've seen nurses be scared, and not just nurses. I mean, anybody scared to ask questions, scared to look dumb. We've talked about that in a previous episode, scared to just not ask for help. And that is going to be failure on your part if you're not asking questions because you don't know everything. I, to this day, do not know everything. I am constantly asking questions because I don't know what's going on sometimes and I need more context of it. So it's really, really important to ask for help.
Same here. I agree. I am an advocate for asking for help and not just going ahead and doing things. These are people's lives that we're dealing with. So, honestly, humility is
Mhm.
strength. And I can tell you firsthand, it is like, you know, I would rather ask somebody to than to go and do just go ahead and do something. And we've all done that. Like, I'll never forget the time when I gave a patient nitroglycerin. And I'm thinking, well, you take this at home, and the patient didn't have an IV. That was a valuable lesson for me to learn. I'll never forget my charge nurse saying, you don't ever like, give a patient nitroglycerin, a vasodilation, which she did bottom right out, without making sure that you have IV access in case we need to turn around and give her something to get things back up. And that was a lesson definitely learned on my part, but know that we all start clueless. Nobody's walking in on anything, and nobody likes a know it all nurse. Or know it all anybody. Like, we all have room to continue to grow and to continue to learn. And we always need to be open to that. I'm learning every single day, every
Preach,
day.
sister, preach. Yes. But like she said, just to kind of reiterate, it's just really important to continue that lifelong learning, knowing that you don't know everything, but it's worse if you don't ask the questions, and even worse if you don't look for the answer. So just remember that that can be a very vital part of your career, and mistakes that you're going to make in the beginning is not asking. So,
Yes, I agree. So that was tip number 4. Now we're on to tip number 3 is over trusting the monitor. All right.
yes.
Oh, this one, that monitor. The monitor says, let's say asystole, but the patient is eating pudding. Okay.
When I used
Now
to
hold
work on a
on.
tele floor, this would happen all the time, right? The patient gets up to go to the bathroom and takes the leads off themselves, and then all of a sudden they're in a systole or they don't exist. So don't panic until you actually check your patient.
Absolutely. Because, we all love technology.
Love it.
We do. It is very helpful. But your best tool is what we learned in nursing school assessment.
Oh,
Assess your patient. So, my tip would be feel for a pulse. If the monitor is saying instantly, you go in and you look at your patient and they look like they could be sleeping, but check for a pulse. Look at your patient. I don't care what that monitor is saying, because just like Brittany said, you getting up and your leads falling off, it's gonna show a flat line asystole. So people come and run in and panic, but nobody's taking a look at the patient. And then trust the monitor. If you've assessed them and it is exactly what it's showing on the monitor, okay, then we go from there and we trust the monitor.
yeah, I feel like that's one thing I've definitely seen in this, maybe newer generation of nurses. And
Uh-huh.
once again, not claiming I'm perfect, not claiming I always listen to everybody's lung sounds. Like, I'm not perfect. But one thing I will tell you that I notice is the assessment skills that nurses were taught or honed in on or, stressed about. Like, I just don't see it as much these days. Like, you see
Exactly.
lots of people walking around, they don't have a stethoscope and any of those things. And it's so important. Like, we do rely so heavily on technology. But just because your patient's on a monitor and doing this, you don't need a monitor to tell you if your patient's not doing well. And it's
Exactly.
so important to look at your patient, listen to your patient, and really assess them well, because that is truly one of the key things that will help you in your career is honing your physical assessment of patients and not relying on the monitors.
Absolutely. I mean, and what you see in your assessment is exactly what it is that you chart. Maybe the next person's assessment may not be exactly like yours, but if you're doing your due diligence to make sure that you're assessing your patient, that's what you're supposed to do. For when it comes back on you, then you know what's going. When I went to go check on my patient, this is what I saw. Their pupils were blown or whatever. Their septum was this, or their, jugular vein distension, whatever it may be, their heart sounds. You need to make sure that you're not just trusting and relying on the monitor and that you're assessing your patients. It is truly, truly a skill as nurses that we need to get more, back into it and less relying on the actual technology, even though we're grateful for it. But, let's make sure that the technology matches up with what
Yes.
that's what we should do. That's what you do. That's a good nurse.
So that was number 3. Number 2 is communication. Poor communication. By far one of the biggest mistakes that you can make, well, in life. Let's be honest, in life. But in your first like year of nursing is not being able to communicate. Nothing makes a situation worse than there's disorganization, and right, like nurses, we like to write on paper, and you're trying to find something when somebody's asking you questions, and all of these things like are happening, and you can't wrap your mind about what's going on with your patient or what you're doing or what's happening. So poor communication, disorganization is huge.
And just to go off of that, relevant information. So
Mm.
the bottom line is this: I don't need to know what their favorite color is. I don't care. I don't. I mean, I don't. But this is why it's important for you to get to that point where you can get organized. I know a lot of times as new graduates, as new nurses, and we're training, you're trying to gather your thoughts with your preceptor and figure out your own way. And believe me, that's something that you need to do. Organization is so important in nursing. You understanding the full story on your patient so that you could communicate that to the next nurse or to the doctor if he's asking you, or whatever. So just making sure that we just, have things all together and right. Like I said, we don't need to know their favorite color, but what we do need to know is their chief complaint. What are they there for? That's important.
Yeah, I feel like, it kind of goes both ways, right? Is staying organized with your thoughts, staying organized with what's going on with your patient, but also being able to communicate with your patient. You're going to experience patients that speak different languages than you. English, maybe isn't their first language, it is yours. Limited proficiency or knowledge. We always have to remember too, we're dealing with the baseline literacy levels of like 5th grade. And, patients are coming for all sorts of socioeconomic backgrounds and really
Right.
like healthcare literacy in general. So, how you're communicating to your patients is really important. How you're communicating to your teammates is really important. How you're communicating to the physician is really important, because you're the eyes and ears for the patients. Like, you're the one who's in the room nonstop. So really being able to understand why your patient's here, like Felicia said, their chief complaint, what's going on with them, being able to educate them. I just was talking to like my nursing students the other day about this, is really having good communication about education is so important, because that is really what's going to save you from having to see that patient again tomorrow, because they didn't understand
Absolutely.
what you told them about their discharge instructions. So now they're coming back to pay you another visit. So
Absolutely.
really just knowing how to communicate, how to keep your thoughts organized is just really important. And I will do a little plug for my MedMax channel, as I do have some resources on there. We'll let the link in the bio here, as well as at the end. We'll tell you about Felicia's GoFundMe page again, to remind you. So we'll have a couple links in the bio for you guys, after tonight's episode.
Yes. If you're struggling, I'm telling you now, you need to get my girl, Med Max. Education report sheet. No shame in your game, honey. It's to make sure that you are crossing your T's and dotting your I's. So you get that and it save your nerves. Trust me. I don't care what anybody else has to say. You'll be making sure that you have everything that you need. So don't forget my girl Brittany and her MedMax education report. That's definitely going to save you.
Thanks, girl.
Aw.
All right. And then the very number one mistake that we kind of see in new grads is taking everything personally. And this one's hard because these things can feel very personal. Like in the ER, especially, patients are yelling at you, doctors are snapping at you. Other teammates are telling you you're not working fast enough. And, the janitor wants to get into the room to clean the room and they're yelling at you because you're taking too long. Radiology's pissed because they can't get their patient. You're going to be getting it from so many different people. And it can be really hard to absorb all of that.
Yes. Yes. And you can care deeply without carrying every patient home in your heart. And I know that's easier said than done, but it's true. You can listen. I've been a patient. I am a patient right now. And it's nice to know that if the nurses or the doctors are caring, but you also have to not always take everything that's going on to heart. Nursing is not easy. It's okay to talk to somebody, maybe have a mentor, somebody that you could talk to, kind of review like what could I have done differently? Like we've talked about in previous episodes, even with like I know we say debriefing with Cold Blue, but just kind of debriefing about whatever it is that you seem to feel that you're taking to heart. And don't forget, we are all human. Okay. Now, you can't take everybody's problem home because you're going to lose your mind. There will be some situations, especially in an emergency room setting, critical care settings, that just kind of like really like touch you. Like it's just different because maybe something that's going on in your life or whatever. And it's okay. You're human. But just knowing that you can care about these patients, but don't carry this home, at all. Like, it's your job, care, be a good nurse, but you got to leave it at home and got to have a work life balance. I mean, you got to leave it at work because you got to have a work life balance.
And that's
Okay.
very difficult, speaking for
Trust.
somebody that's been in the medical field for 20 years. Finding that work life balance is really hard. But
Yeah.
really giving yourself time to decompress after the end of shifts because there is a lot, like Felicia said, there's a lot that goes on. And, like I said, you have patients yelling at you, doctors yelling at you, everybody's kind of coming at you and being able to not take those things to heart, not carry them home, and really like just try to know that at the end of the day, like you're gonna make mistakes as a new nurse. Hopefully, none of them are very serious.
Right.
But like I told you in previous episodes, like my mistakes, you learn best
Yeah.
from your mistakes. Hopefully, like you're not gonna repeat that. But just try not to take things personally. If people are coming at you or telling you something, just know that hopefully they're coming in, from a good place. They want you to do better. They want you to improve. So if they're telling you something's going wrong or you're not doing something right, don't take that personally. Try to take it as, hey, they're looking out for me. They want me to do better and not make mistakes moving forward. They're just alerting me to something that's not right. That's how you should frame your mindset to take that criticism and really spin it around and be like, they're doing this to help me.
To
Like
help
they're
me.
not sitting
It's
here being mean. To me.
constructive.
They're here to help me. So
Absolutely. And you know what? And then that takes us into our faith based segment. So, that this part reminds me of like Proverbs 4 and 23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it.
oof.
That's very important.
Oof.
Yes.
Yes, that's a good one. Nursing will test you to the core. It will test your patience, your compassion. We've talked about compassion, fatigue, and burnout, but it's really important to remember the person you
Mhm.
are a person under your nursing facade. And you have to be able to kind of protect yourself, find whatever barriers. We've talked about before, like nurses kind of have this like sick sense of humor and these like kind of ways. And I feel like that's how a lot of ER nurses deal with the things that we see every day. We're protecting our heart by putting a shield over it because the things that we see aren't normal. They're not okay. Like, so whatever you need to do to kind of protect the person that you are, not necessarily the nurse, because you have to guard the person at your core, your well-being to be able to be a good nurse. So you have to mentor or kind of like love that like inner child to be able to continue to help others.
And, the way I see it is, we can't pour from an empty cup. We can't.
Preach.
But you know what? We try. So take the time to pray, rest, and reset. Remember that. Pray, rest, and reset. God called you to this work because not everybody can do it. You know, everybody has where they are. And I thank God for everybody's position. Surge nurses, critical care ICU nurses, emergency room nurses, surgical nurses, PACU nurses, endo nurses, IR nurses. I mean, infusion nurses, everybody, children, the ones that work with the children, pediatric nurses. This is how I see it. We need to pray, we need to rest, and we need to reset. Okay. God called you to do this work. So I'm telling you that again, but he didn't call you to burn out. Okay, that's important because we do get burned out. We're human. That's not what he called you to do. So just remember those. Remember that, you
Yes.
know, he called you to do this work, but he didn't call you to burn out. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a great point. Ooh, gave me like little chills there, girl. Amen.
Yes.
It's important. Like, we were just talking about this before we started. Like, it is not on our time. It is all, everything that we're going through is God's timing. So
This.
if God
Yeah.
called you to be a nurse, he wants you to continue to be a great nurse. And sometimes the assignment isn't about taking care of patients. It's about helping yourself grow so that you can be a better caregiver and spread the word out there as opposed to, getting so much compassion fatigue and so much burnout that it just affects everything. So really taking
Absolutely.
care of yourself is like
Take care of
such
yourself.
a huge priority.
Yes. Take care of yourself. All righty.
Oh my gosh, girl, you know what time it is now? It is time for our dropping the stethoscope.
Yeah.
So, girl, what has been going on? I feel like it's been a little bit since, we've gotten a good feel of where you're at with your journey and kind of fill us in. What's happening?
Well, guys, I'm always going to keep it real with you. It's been a little rough last week for your girl over here, okay? I was doing fine. I just finished radiation treatment number 16 today. Woo, woo, woo.
Yes.
9 more to go and your girl will be done with her 25. I'm very excited and I'm very blessed. It's not the radiation that's been rough. I don't know if you all know I'm also taking oral chemo, which is very similar to the infusion chemo that I was receiving that I would go home on for 48 hours. I'm handling them, but then I kind of ran into some like sudden abdominal, like in that whole like epigastric area where I would get this like stabbing pain that would kind of like your girl will be jumping up and like walking real fast, feeling a little shortness of breath, and then kind of leaning over to try to get that pain to subside. Thought it was something that I had eaten. Stomach was a little nauseous and everything. And I did have a couple episodes of where I did vomit um the next day, but regardless, your girl is not gonna miss radiation. I was up, showered, and about, getting ready, go to radiation next day, did my thing in radiation, but I really, really just didn't feel good. Now it's Friday. We all know Friday is like get ready for the weekend, very hard to kind of really get in touch with doctors or whatever, but I was adamant that I didn't think that I should go an entire weekend feeling this intermittent pain.
Mhm.
So I reached out to the nurse of the radiation oncologist who called me back. I explained to her. She's told me that she would speak to the doctor. Well, we all know the time is a ticking. And I'm like, and we're getting a little later. So now I'm starting to wear their phone out. Like somebody's going to give me some type of direction before this Friday ends because I will go to the emergency room, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's really not where I want to go. We all know that. Okay. So, with that being said, the doctor actually called me back. That melted my heart. And we talked about it. I told him what I was having. I thought it was my stent that was causing the issue. I thought radiation was pushing the stent out of the bile duct. You know, us nurses, we always think we know, concocting up what we think could be going on as if I'm like literally inside of my body. I'm not, but this is what I was thinking. Behold, to find out that my stent is not on the left side and it's on the right side. And it was the doctor that informed me of that and that the stent was not being pushed out at all, and that I probably had just a little gastritis. He suggested that he did not want me to go to the emergency room, which I was like, yay, I don't want to go. But he did give me his personal phone number and says, if you continue to have this pain over the weekend, please reach back out to me, and told me I could go ahead, believe it or not, take some ibuprofen. And I did. And let me tell you, your girl feels so much better. I'm glad I listened to him. He was very confident in what he felt that it probably was. I was probably a little more panicked on Friday. But you know what? God's got your girl. And I know it. I asked God on Thursday. I said, Lord, even if I need to have one night of hell to get this tumor out my body, I'll take it. Let me tell you, I had that night. That night was brutal. I don't know what the outcome is, but I have to trust in my Father, honey. And I asked for it, and I felt like he was listening to my question. He listened to my request. And I have nothing but hopes that in the end, 9 more treatments, when we do a final CT scan to just kind of see where we are, that hopefully this tumor has peeled itself off and come out wherever, whether it came out orally or exited the other way. So that has been what your girl has been going through for the past week. But you know, nothing's going to stop me from coming and giving you guys love because you are all so good to me, supporting me. And I appreciate you supporting both Brittany and I through this because we love sharing our ER stories and I love sharing what I'm going through with you because like I said in previous episodes, if one person feels like they have benefited from something that I've told them, then I've done what I'm supposed to do. I'm the vessel that God said, okay, you're going to deal with this, and the rest is like God is leading the way. And I have to continue to have my faith and continue to be positive because that energy determines how I will do in the end. I love you guys. That's my drop the stethoscope moment for the week.
Yeah, you've been like just it's been a lot. Like it really has.
Oh,
And we've talked about it extensively and even on the podcast every week. But yeah, you're going through radiation every day. You're taking this chemo pill, essentially poison, like twice a day. It's a lot. It's a lot for you to have to deal with. Plus, like having to be in probably one of the most expensive cities in the world,
woo!
being out of work right now, other, family things. Like, your husband is up there with you, and you said he
Yes.
wasn't feeling good this weekend. So
No.
there's like a lot of like stressors in your life. How is your husband doing now?
He is actually doing much better, thank you for
Good.
asking. I was like, "My caregiver is not able to care." But you know what? I feel like when one of us is going down, God is lifting the other one to have just a
Yeah,
little more energy. So I'm like, "Look, Imma go on across here." Thank God for the Trader Joe's in Manhattan right across from me, where I was able to go get us some orange juice, where we were able to go and get the things that we needed to actually, make sure that he was taken care of.
good. I'm
So, he's
glad.
doing much better, and I'm so grateful for him. I don't know what I would do without him.
How long have you guys been married now?
We have been married for what's this? Technically, okay, so we've been
I know
together
what
for
year.
30 years. Yes, girl.
Woo,
30
girl,
years.
that's
Not
extended
always
30
easy,
years.
everybody. I'm not a faker. I'm here to tell you. Not always easy, but you know what? I'm truly, truly blessed. But we have been married for 24 years now of the 30 years. And we are truly, truly blessed. And going through this has been where we really see just how blessed that we are. I mean, I
Yeah,
just can't even tell you how grateful I am.
tell us about how this has, we really haven't talked much about about your husband and kind of
Right.
how much of a role he's played in this. So kind of tell us how this has been impacting your relationship and how much you've had to lean on each other during this.
This has really taken our relationship to a next level. We've always been best friends. Ups and downs, every relationship has, but this
Sure.
has definitely made us stronger. You know, in life, you think you know what your next plan is going to be. You like, I'm going to go do this. That's not always in the plan because never did we know that we would be going through this. And he has been my Superman. I'm not even going to I can't even sit here and make it up. Like he has been the best support system along with you all taking this journey because you know a lot of times it is focused on me, the person going through it. But sometimes we forget about the people that are caring for us and the toll that it takes on them. It's hard to watch your spouse in pain and you can't help them. You not know, do I need to take her to the emergency room? What do I need to do? But yet she's screaming and she's like, no, I'm not going to the emergency room. You know, meanwhile, he's stressing with what you're going through, but trying to be so strong. And he has been so strong and such a Superman that I feel like his poor guy immune system started dropping from the stress. And then next thing you know, he's not feeling well. But no matter how much I'm like, are you okay? He's like, I'm fine. Nothing I'm going through is nowhere near what my wife is going through. And I'm like, but regardless, you don't feel good. He goes, no, I have absolutely no complaints. And to me, that was not us 8 months ago. You know what I mean? I think we would have been like, well, what about me? Like I'm going, but these are the things that opens your eyes in relationships. And these are what those vows mean when they say through sickness and in health until death do you part. This is the stuff. It is not always going to be roses and butterflies. It's the tough times like these where nobody thought we would get to. And you thinking, oh my God, I'm about to travel the world. These kids are grown. Yet no, it is not time for that. Who knew that this would be something that we would both have to deal with? And he has been my ride or die. And let me tell you, I make it known to him by letting him know how much I love and appreciate him for standing beside me. It's easy to walk away, guys. Wouldn't that be the easiest thing to do? I don't want to deal with that. You know, but no, he says this is the part that challenges him as a husband and as a man by
Yeah.
staying right by my side. You know, my husband was not someone that liked where other people made plans for us and we were there, but watching him be like, okay, people make plans because that was the agreement. If people want us to do something, plan it out, guys. Plan it out. We'll be there. And he's been right by my side every step of the way. And I thank God for him. I thank God for his job, who has been right there and said, you take as long as you need to take off and be there for your wife. I mean, I was standing there when his boss said it. And that really like touched my heart. You know, I'm not an employee of theirs. And that's what they said to him. And that meant the world. So it's my ride or die, honey. And I'm grateful to God for him each and every day.
Yeah, I think, it's important to, well, thank you to her husband for being so amazing and yeah, being there for her. But it also kind of goes back to, really finding that person. And I know sometimes that comes in the form of a spouse or significant other, but sometimes that can be family, friends,
Absolutely.
whoever. Like, if God is putting people in your life for a reason or a season or a lifetime, right? That's kind of what they say.
Absolutely.
And don't I will say, like, I'll take it to my personal life here for a minute. Like, I found my person almost 2 years ago now, but I'm in my late 30s and I didn't think it was ever going to happen. You get through the 20s where everybody's getting married and having babies and doing all of those things. And, there was plenty of times I was like, nope, I'm never going to find it, lost hope, all of that stuff. But you never know, kind of going back to what Felicia said, God's plan for you. Like it was only on his time that I was able to find my person.
Yep.
I couldn't have found, my boyfriend at a different time in our lives because it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have
Right.
been right. So it's all
Absolutely.
about timing and just knowing that, you're not living according to what you want or your guidelines. Like you're living according to the timeline God has for you. God has a plan for you, and like you're going to live to what he wants you to do. So as much as it sucks that Felicia's going through this, like, she's had ups and downs in her life, ups and downs in her marriage, all of those things, like she's going this through this for a reason. And like
Absolutely.
whatever you're going through, if you're listening to this right now, know that you're going through that for a reason because through every valley, God has got you and will bring you up the mountain. Okay. So just please continue to have hope. If you're a new grad that you've listened to this episode, please find your person, even if it's, not a significant other, whoever that may be, that's going to be there to help you during these tough times. I will also say, like, we have on our podcast bio a number that you can text. You can text us
Absolutely.
too. We are
Absolutely.
both, part of the reason we started this podcast, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, but part of it is, and why we went into education from the ER is because we love helping people. We want to
Absolutely.
see people succeed. We love the new generation. Like, I want to give and instill wisdom on whoever I can. I want to be there for people. Like, I'm a people person. I love to interact with people and I love to be around people and I love to help people. So if you
Absolutely.
ever need something, text us because
Text that, please.
hey, it's all
Please.
good. So yeah, that's my little rant about that.
That's it. It's true.
Okay, yeah. So for even though it was kind of a little bit of a dropping my stethoscope moment. So what's kind of been going on with me is definitely not as much as what's been going on with Felicia. But I've been really working hard for, my business aspect. Medmax Edu is the company I founded a year ago now. It was last October that I actually found
Whoa.
it. Yeah, it's crazy. I saw like there was a need and I will tell you, like we've talked about that for a while, a need or a kind of a service that we could offer outside of a traditional hospital setting. So I had previously gotten my TNCC, so for ER nurses, this is your trauma nursing course, teaches you kind of that systematic approach to trauma. I got to be a director in that. So I was able to offer my own courses, had originally put like a proposal for the healthcare system I work at now, and Felicia does, to get it offered more broadly, but for whatever reason, that didn't pan out. So I decided to kind of make my own company and do it myself
Right.
on the outside. That, initially was just offering TNCC classes or by referral word of mouth. I would do like ACLS or PALS or, BLS classes because I'm also an AHA instructor. But it's kind of grown. Like I have also
Yeah.
seen a need for EKGs. I will tell
Oh,
you, like, I mean, it was horrible. Like, I mean, you knew as an ER nurse and what's lethal, what's gonna kill somebody or your patient, and what was normal. You didn't know all these, like,
these
blocks and all of
blocks and
these things. Yeah. And it wasn't until, like, I had to educate people on it that I really got to understand it.
right,
So, I know that
right.
yeah, it's the newer nurses coming out, they're expected to kind of, like, know these things, but they haven't been really given the resources or the guidance, so I took some time over the last couple of months and made an EKG, like, ebook that you can download on my site that really, like, breaks it down. Like, I'm somebody who for me to really understand it, like I'm a very kinetic learner. So A, I need to do it if I'm able to. And B, I have a little hint of ADHD. So I need you to break it down for me so that
Me too,
A,
honey.
it's visual and I can learn like what I really need to know and not all fluff. And then I
Mhm.
also needed to be help me understand why. Like, what's the rationale behind it? Because if I can know that, I'm better off remembering that. Or, little sayings, because, we say with the winky block, like the second degree type one is longer, longer,
Long.
longer drop. Now you have a winky block. But some of those things that will kind of stick in your mind and help you remember. So if you're
Absolutely.
somebody who struggles with EKGs and you would like a little boost, that's available on my store. Also trying to do some like mentorship if you're struggling. Like I said, you can find your person. You can ask me or Felicia.
Absolutely.
Yep. We would be glad to like help mentor you. I also have some like free stuff on there. You can come take TNCC with me. So just really trying to focus on growing that because I truly want to do it to help people. Like I feel like at this point in my career, like I've seen a lot, I've done a lot. I've experienced a lot and I've built up my teaching kind of style in a way over the last 6 to 7 years. And I really just want to be able to help people in that like non-stress, like high pressure environment. I want people to be able to really like learn things. So yeah, so I've been working on that and my
Yay.
gosh, I feel like I don't even know sometimes what's happening because there's just a lot. I love doing this podcast with Felicia.
Oh,
It's been
me too. This has
so
been wonderful.
fun, so amazing. I'm having the best time doing it. Also, the other thing is we do have the forms up and available. So if you guys are listening and want to submit your stories for us to look at and potentially be featured on the podcast, that's one of the, the links that we'll put in the bio. And please submit them because we love like hearing your guys' stories. Like me and Felicia
Absolutely.
can sit here and talk all day about the stories or advice or education or whatever. But this podcast is not just us talking to you all
No,
the time. Like, we want you guys to be
we
part
do.
of this community. Like, we're building a community of nurses who are there for each other, who support each other, and who take care of each other at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So that's, uh, that's my 2 cents. Do
Absolutely.
you have anything else, Felicia?
No, 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 no. This has been great. You know, we want you all to know that we love you, and we do say this every week, but it is true.
It is.
Can't save lives if you're not taking care of your own,
Yeah. So
right?
hopefully this a podcast can serve as a way for you to take some time out to be entertained, to be given advice, to find your spirituality, to
Absolutely.
find others that support you and think like you. So hopefully this is part of your self-care.
Okay.
As always, like Felicia said, thank you for
Thank you.
listening to us. Please continue to share,
Yeah.
subscribe, like, comment,
Right.
all of those things so that
Send
we,
a message,
yes,
whatever. Call,
so that
text,
we, yeah,
whatever.
call tags and whatever you need to do. It helps us to know that, we're putting episodes out there that people like and care about and, continue to want to bring that to you guys. If we're
Absolutely.
doing something right, let us know. And if we're doing something
And
wrong,
wrong,
we're
let us
okay with
know.
that. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. So we will see y'all next time. Stay safe, stay caffeinated. It's important in nursing.
So important.
And keep holding that stethoscope. Just not too tight. All right.
Yes. Bye,
Have a good
guys.